I once had everything: a successful interior design business, a beautiful Victorian home in San Francisco, and what I thought was a loving husband. But as I sit here, staring at the foggy Bay Area skyline from my window, I realize how quickly it can all slip away. My name is Sophia Mitchell, and 3 years ago, my life took an unexpected turn when I was diagnosed with myasthenia gravis, a neuromuscular disease that slowly steals your strength while leaving your mind perfectly intact. A cruel combination. Really. You know exactly what's happening as your body betrays you, one muscle at a time. The first signs were subtle. My eyelids would droop by evening. I'd drop things without warning. But I ignored these warnings, immersed in growing Mitchell Designs, the company my parents had built from scratch and entrusted to me when they retired to Palm Springs. "You're just overworking yourself," Daniel would say back then, his voice still carrying that warmth I'd fallen in love with. At 36, my husband was still as handsome as the day we met. Tall, with dark hair graying slightly at the temples. Always dressed impeccably in tailored suits. He worked in finance before joining my company, bringing his sharp analytical mind and ambitious drive. Before my diagnosis, we'd been equals. Partners in life and eventually in business when he started helping with the financial side of Mitchell Designs. But as my condition worsened, the dynamics shifted, so gradually that I barely noticed the transformation until it was too late. This afternoon, as the San Francisco fog rolls in across the hills, I sit on our living room couch, a heavy design book open on my lap. I'm not really reading. My mind drifts to the days when I'd race through the design district, hunting for the perfect fabric or fixture for a client's home. Now, walking from the bedroom to the kitchen leaves me winded. From the kitchen comes the familiar hiss of the espresso machine and Daniel's purposeful footsteps. When he enters the living room, he places his leather portfolio on the coffee table with practiced precision and gives me a quick glance. "Another design book?" he asks, his tone aiming for casual but landing somewhere between condescending and impatient. I force a smile. It helps me stay connected to my work. Daniel loosens his tie with studied ease. "Don't push yourself too hard, Sophia. You need to conserve energy for your treatments." His words sound caring, but they slice through me, another subtle reminder of my limitations. I close the book and set it aside, feeling my physical and emotional strength drain away. "Speaking of work," Daniel continues, sitting across from me, "there's an important investor meeting at the office next week." I blink in surprise. Though I've stepped back from daily operations, Mitchell Designs is still my company, my legacy. "What meeting?" "Some potential partners," he says, sipping his espresso. Then he adds with a calculated smile, "I think it would be good if you tried to come. Just to be seen, nothing more." His words, seemingly innocent, reduce me to an empty symbol, someone who should just be present for appearance's sake. The idea twists like a knife in my chest. "I thought you didn't need my help with these things anymore," I murmur, trying to keep my voice steady despite the hurt bubbling beneath. "It's your company, Sophia. At least, officially it still is. But if you're not feeling up to it, I understand if you'd rather stay home." The indifference in his voice feels like a slap. Daniel stands with elegant ease, collects his portfolio, and heads upstairs to his home office. "Do whatever you think is best," he says, without looking back before disappearing upstairs. I remain motionless on the couch, my gaze fixed on the curtains letting in the last rays of sunlight. Once, I would have found comfort in that golden glow, but now it seems to mock me. Later, I escape to our garden, seeking solace among the hydrangeas I'd planted years ago. Their vibrant blues and purples contrast with the melancholy I feel. I sit on the stone bench beside the small pond, my sanctuary within a house that feels less like home each day. As I gaze at the water, my mind drifts to the past, I remember the days when I could control every aspect of my life, when the company thrived under my leadership, when people valued my talent. Daniel seemed like an ally then, someone who shared my dreams. But now, I can't help wondering if he's changed, or if I simply never saw who he truly was. The sound of a door closing pulls me from my thoughts. Daniel has finished his call upstairs and comes down to the garden. From the entrance, he crosses his arms and looks at me impatiently. "What are you doing out here? You should be resting." I want to say the garden is the only place I feel at peace, but instead, I murmur, "Just getting some fresh air." Daniel nods indifferently before turning back toward the house. "Don't overexert yourself. I don't want you getting worse." When I'm alone again, I close my eyes, letting the cool evening breeze caress my face. Though physical exhaustion threatens to defeat me, a spark of determination begins to ignite inside. My life may feel paused, but somehow, I need to find a way forward. That night, as I struggle to fall asleep, an idea forms in my mind. I can't change everything at once, but I still have a voice. And if Daniel is trying to silence me, I'll find a way to reclaim my place. Days seem to dissolve into one another, each minute stretching under the weight of fatigue that never leaves me. Simple movements, getting out of bed, holding a cup of coffee, drain me quickly. Every night I try to sleep better, but frustration and helplessness keep my mind restless. This morning, as sunlight filters through the windows, I take a deep breath and sit up with difficulty. I have a clear goal: to regain some control over my life. I stand slowly, holding onto furniture as I cross the room. The pain in my leg muscles is familiar, but I manage to reach the bathroom, wash my face, and look in the mirror. The reflection shows a different version of me. My eyes look tired, with shadows beneath them betraying nights of insomnia. Still, there's a determined spark that encourages me to keep going. From downstairs, the sound of the coffee machine and Daniel's firm footsteps indicate he's already awake. I make my way to the dining room, moving carefully but with purpose. I find Daniel reviewing papers while sipping coffee. He wears an impeccable suit as always, with a thick folder resting on the table. "I have an important meeting with the investors today," he comments without looking up, focused on his phone. "We'll discuss crucial changes for the company." After weeks of feeling pushed aside from important decisions, I feel my heart rate quicken. The spark of determination I felt that morning ignites again. "I want to go with you," I say suddenly, breaking the silence. Daniel looks up in surprise, as if my words make no sense. His eyebrows arch, and his expression quickly shifts from confusion to impatience. "And what do you mean you want to go?" "If it's an important meeting, I want to be there. I want to know what's happening with the company." Daniel lets out a dry, condescending laugh. "Sophia, in your condition, I don't think that's a good idea." "My health is under control," I respond, trying to stay calm. "This company is my legacy, Daniel. I have a right to be present." Daniel puts the folder on the table and looks at me with a mixture of disbelief and contempt. "Right, Sophia? You can barely walk long distances without exhausting yourself. Do you really think you're in any condition to contribute to a meeting like this?" The silence that follows is heavy. I feel my hands trembling, but I don't lower my gaze. My muscles might fail me, but my determination is stronger than ever. Before I can respond, Daniel shakes his head and says, "It's better if you stay here. I'll handle everything." Without waiting for an answer, Daniel stands up, takes the folder, and walks out the door, leaving me with a lump in my throat. The rest of the day is a mixture of frustration and suspicion. I try to focus on the papers I have at home, but I find nothing useful. The important documents, the ones that really matter, are in Daniel's hands. Every time I try to distract myself, my mind returns to that meeting from which I was excluded. In the afternoon, after spending hours trying to organize my thoughts, I decide to go out to the garden. The hydrangeas my mother had planted years ago are still blooming, their vibrant colors contrasting with the melancholy I feel. I sit on the stone bench by the pond, my refuge within a house that feels less and less like mine. As I contemplate the water, my mind travels to the past. I remember the days when I could decide every aspect of my life, when the company was under my control and people valued my talent. Daniel, back then, seemed like an ally, someone who shared my dreams. But now, I can't help wondering if this man has changed, or if he was always like this and I never saw it. The sound of the front door closing interrupts my thoughts. Daniel has returned, and his firm step resonates across the hardwood floor. From the garden entrance, he crosses his arms and looks at me impatiently. "What are you doing out here? You should be resting." I want to say that the garden is the only place where I feel at peace, but instead I murmur, "I just wanted to get some fresh air." Daniel nods with indifference before turning toward the house. "Don't push yourself too hard." I don't want you getting worse. When I'm alone again, I close my eyes, letting the breeze caress my face. I feel like my life is on pause, but deep inside, I know I need to find a way to move forward. Though physical exhaustion tries to defeat me, a spark of determination begins to light up. That night, as I try to sleep, an idea starts forming in my mind. I can't change everything immediately, but I still have a voice. And if Daniel is trying to silence me, I'll find a way to reclaim my place. A week later, Daniel returns from another mysterious meeting. I'm in the living room, sketching design concepts, something I do more for personal therapy than for work these days. He barely acknowledges me as he drops another set of documents on the coffee table. "I need you to sign these," he says bluntly. "What are they?" I ask, setting my sketchbook aside. "Just some adjustments to protect the company. The investors recommended them, and we need your signature to formalize them." I take the papers and begin reading, but the legal terminology is confusing and technical. Daniel, noticing my confusion, tries to pressure me. "Sophia, we don't have time for this. If we don't sign now, we could lose an important opportunity. Then you'll have to wait. I'm not signing anything until I fully understand it." Daniel presses his lips together, clearly annoyed. "Do what you want, but don't blame me when this all goes wrong." With those words, he puts the documents back in the folder and goes upstairs to his office, leaving me alone in the living room. That night, lying in bed, I think about all the times I blindly trusted Daniel. The concessions I made, the documents I signed without questioning, the decisions I left in his hands. All of that has led me to this point, where I feel my life no longer belongs to me. But something has changed in me. I'm no longer willing to continue being a spectator in my own story. Daniel can try to manipulate me, but he can't take away my determination. Tomorrow, I'll seek help. It's time to recover what they've taken from me. And although I don't know exactly how I'll do it, I know I won't stop until I succeed. I wake up with a sense of unease that's been my constant companion since last night's conversation with Daniel. His insistence on having me sign papers without proper explanation has left a thorn in my heart. As I slowly get up, feeling the weight of my body, a constant reminder of how my disease limits me, I know I need to talk to someone before anxiety consumes me completely. The San Francisco sun filters through the curtains, and although the light is warm, I feel an internal coldness, a mixture of loneliness and hopelessness. Today I need to speak with someone, to get everything off my chest before it suffocates me. While drinking a glass of water in the kitchen, my gaze falls on my cell phone. Rachel Newman, my best friend since college, is the first name that comes to mind. It's been weeks since we last spoke, but I know Rachel will always be there for me. I take a deep breath and dial her number. The phone rings a couple of times before a warm, familiar voice answers. "Sophia, What a surprise to hear from you. How are you? Hi, Rachel, I say, trying to sound calm, though my voice betrays my emotional state. I'm surviving, I guess. That doesn't sound good at all. What happened? Rachel asks with evident concern. Can we meet? I need to talk to you. Rachel doesn't hesitate for a second. Of course. Where do you want to meet? How about the cafe near my house? Perfect. Give me an hour and I'll be there. I feel a slight relief as I hang up. Getting ready to go out cost me more than I expected. Each movement requires additional effort, from choosing my clothes to brushing my hair. Despite the limitations, I managed to dress in a simple, comfortable outfit. I look in the mirror before leaving, noticing how much I've changed in recent years. When I arrive at the cafe, Rachel is already sitting at a table by the window, stirring her coffee spoon with a peaceful expression. When she sees me enter, her face lights up with a wide smile. Sophia! She exclaims, getting up to hug me. The hug is brief but warm. I feel comforted by being close to someone who truly knows me. Both of us sit down, and Rachel doesn't waste time breaking the ice. Tell me everything. What's going on? I sigh, feeling the words accumulate in my throat. I've kept so many things inside for so long that I don't know where to start. I don't even know how to say it, Rachel. I feel trapped. Why? Is it because of your illness? Not just that. It's Daniel. Every day I feel like he has more control over my life. Rachel frowns, leaning forward. What's he doing? I take a sip of water before answering, searching for the right words. Since my illness got worse, he took charge of the company. At first I thought it was temporary, but now it seems like he's taken over everything. He doesn't consult me about decisions, and when I ask him, he always has an excuse not to give me explanations. Rachel shakes her head, clearly upset by what she's hearing. That's not right, Sophia. It's your company, your legacy. You have the right to know what's happening. I know, but every time I try to confront him, he makes me feel like I'm being irrational. He tells me to worry about my health and leave everything in his hands. But last night, Rachel raises her eyebrows, waiting for me to continue. What happened last night? He asked me to sign some documents. He wouldn't explain exactly what they were, and when I told him I needed time to review them, he got upset. Rachel crosses her arms, with an expression of disbelief. Did you sign them? No, I refused, but I don't trust him, Rachel. Something tells me he's hiding something. Rachel breathes deeply, taking my hands in hers. Friend, you need help. This isn't something you can solve alone. I know, but I don't know who to turn to. Rachel remains thoughtful for a moment, and then her eyes light up. Do you remember Ryan Cooper? I blink, surprised by the mention of that name. Ryan had been a close friend for many years, someone I always trusted before our lives took different paths. Yes, of course I remember him. What about him? He's a lawyer now. He has his own firm, and, from what I know, he's very good at corporate cases. Maybe he can help you review those documents and find out what Daniel is up to. I hesitate for a moment. The idea of involving Ryan makes me feel a mix of nervousness and hope. I don't know if he'd want to help me. It's been a long time since we've spoken. Sophia, he always had a special affection for you, Rachel says with a smile that suggests something more. I'm sure he'd be delighted to help you. I try to ignore Rachel's tone, but I can't help remembering the moments I shared with Ryan in the past. Although there was never anything romantic between us, I always felt a special connection with him. Maybe you're right, I finally admit. Or do you have his contact information? Rachel takes out her phone and writes Ryan's number on a piece of paper, handing it to me. Here you go. Call him as soon as possible. The more time passes, the harder it will be to solve this. I take the paper, feeling a mixture of relief and determination. Thank you, Rachel. I don't know what I'd do without you. I'll always be here for you, friend. And remember, this is just the beginning. Don't let Daniel keep manipulating you. Both of us spend the rest of the afternoon talking about lighter topics, trying to recover some of the normalcy we used to share. However, when I return home that night, the weight of my situation falls back on me. I put the paper with Ryan's number in my purse and sit on the couch, looking at the clock while thinking about my next step. That night, before going to sleep, I make a decision. I'm going to talk to Ryan. I know it won't be easy, but it's the first step to regaining control of my life. I wake up this morning feeling an unusual weight in my body. My head seems to float while my legs barely respond to the effort of standing up. I breathe deeply, placing my hands on the bed to try to stabilize myself. These episodes aren't new, but in recent days, they've increased in frequency and severity. As I try to walk to the bathroom, dizziness forces me to stop. I close my eyes for a moment, seeking some relief. When I finally reach the mirror, I see my reflection and can't help but sigh in frustration. My eyes are sunken, with marked dark circles, and my skin looks pale. Although I try to stay strong, my body seems to be abandoning me. The morning progresses slowly. I manage to dress in comfortable clothes, though each movement feels like a challenge. As I go down the stairs, holding onto the railing with each step, I feel sweat beginning to cover my forehead. I finally reach the dining room, where Daniel is sitting with a cup of coffee in hand, checking his phone as usual. Hearing my steps, Daniel looks up. His brow furrows when he notices my tired expression. "What's wrong with you?" he asks in a tone that tries to sound concerned, but to me seems indifferent. I sit carefully in one of the dining room chairs, breathing deeply before answering. I'm weaker than usual. I think I should go to the doctor. Daniel leaves his phone on the table and crosses his arms, observing me with a mixture of exasperation and skepticism. "Again, Sophia, you go to the doctor all the time. You already know what they're going to tell you. Rest and follow the treatment. You don't need another consultation to hear the same thing." I press my lips together, trying to contain the frustration I feel. "Daniel, something isn't right. The treatment isn't working. Maybe you should rest more instead of worrying so much. Sometimes you exaggerate things, Sophia." Those words were the last straw. I feel rage mixing with my helplessness. "I'm going to the doctor, Daniel. I'm not asking for your opinion or your permission." Daniel raises an eyebrow, clearly surprised by my tone, but doesn't insist. He shrugs and returns his attention to the phone. "Do what you want." I don't respond. I take my phone and call the clinic to schedule an appointment as soon as possible. Later, while waiting in the consultation room, I can't help but look around. The place is full of people who, like me, seem to be fighting against something bigger than themselves. My gaze gets lost in the window that overlooks the outside, where the sun shines intensely, oblivious to the concerns of those inside. Finally, Dr. Martinez calls me. I get up with difficulty and walk slowly towards the office. The doctor, a middle-aged man with an always attentive expression, welcomes me with a warm smile. "Sophia, it seems you're not doing well today." "I feel worse than usual," I admit, sitting in the chair in front of him. The doctor nods, observing me carefully before starting to ask me about my symptoms. I describe the extreme fatigue, the tremors in my hands, and the feeling that my muscles simply don't want to respond. "It seems the treatment isn't working as it should," says the doctor after listening to me. "I want to run some tests to see if we've missed anything. I'll also review the medications you're taking. Maybe we need to adjust the doses or change to a different treatment." I nod, feeling a mixture of relief and concern. Knowing that the doctor is taking action gives me some peace of mind. but at the same time, I can't ignore the fear that something else might be wrong. Do you think it could be something more serious? The doctor gives me an understanding look. It's better not to speculate until we have the results. But the important thing is that we're acting quickly. After the tests, I leave the office with a feeling of exhaustion that isn't just physical. While waiting for my driver to pick me up, my mind keeps spinning. I think about Daniel, about Rachel, and about Ryan's number that's still kept in my purse. Once home, I find the house empty. Daniel had gone out for another meeting, and the silence gives me space to organize my thoughts. I sit on the couch, take out the paper with Ryan's number, and look at it intently. I know it's time to take that step, but anxiety is still present. Finally, I gather enough courage and dial the number. Hello? A male voice answers on the other end of the line. I feel a lump in my throat when I recognize that voice. Ryan? It's Sophia. There's a brief silence, and then Ryan's voice fills with surprise and warmth. Sophia, how wonderful to hear from you. It's been so long. Yes, I know. I breathe deeply before continuing. Ryan, I need your help. Ryan's voice becomes serious immediately. Of course. Tell me, what's happening? I explain everything, from my illness to how Daniel had taken control of the company and his insistence on having me sign documents without explaining the details to me. Ryan listens attentively, without interrupting me. This doesn't sound good at all, Sophia, he finally says, but I'm going to help you. I need you to show me those documents, and if there's anything suspicious, we'll take action. I feel a relief that almost makes me cry. Thank you, Ryan. You don't know how much this means to me. You can always count on me, he responds, with a firm but warm tone. We can meet tomorrow at my office to review everything calmly. I take note of the address and time. When I hang up, I feel a mixture of relief and nervousness. Although I know this is the first step towards the truth, I also fear what I might discover. That night, Daniel returns home with his usual attitude, carefree and confident. I observe him from the dining room, noticing how he moves with an arrogance that I can no longer bear. Although he doesn't know it, something has changed in me. Now I have a plan and someone I can trust. As I prepare for bed, I look at my reflection in the mirror and, for the first time in a long time, I feel I'm recovering a part of myself. Daniel may continue trying to control me, but I'm no longer willing to give in. The next day, I head to Ryan's office with a mix of anxiety and hope. Ryan hadn't aged as much as I expected. He still had the same intelligent eyes and reassuring smile I remembered, though time had added a dignified touch of gray to his temples. His office was in a modern downtown building with a view of the Golden Gate Bridge in the distance. Sophia, he says warmly as I enter, it's really good to see you. We spend the next hour going through what's been happening. Ryan takes detailed notes, asking precise questions about my health, Daniel's behavior, and the company's operations. I need to see those documents Daniel wanted you to sign, he says finally. And any other paperwork you can access that seems suspicious. I promise to bring what I can, and as I leave, I feel a strange lightness. For the first time in months, I don't feel completely alone. That evening, I'm in our home study when I find something that makes my blood run cold. A thick envelope from an insurance company. Inside is a life insurance policy in my name with Daniel as the sole beneficiary. The amount is staggering, enough to set someone up for life. But what truly alarms me is the date. The policy was taken out just 6 months ago, when my health was at its worst. With trembling hands, I take photos of every page before carefully returning the envelope exactly as I found it. When Daniel gets home, I pretend everything is normal, though my heart pounds every time he looks at me. The next day, I rush back to Ryan's office with the insurance documents. This is concerning, Ryan says after examining them. The timing, the amount. It fits with everything else we've found. Sophia, I don't want to alarm you, but I think Daniel might be planning something more serious than just taking control of the company. I feel a chill run through me. What do we do now? We keep gathering evidence, Ryan says firmly. We need to build a solid case before we make any moves. And Sophia, be careful. Very careful. I nod, the reality of my situation sinking in. My husband isn't just trying to steal my company. He might be playing a much more dangerous game. Over the next week, I start searching the house whenever Daniel is away. In his desk drawer, I discover another shocking document, a will, supposedly written by me, leaving everything to Daniel if I die. I know immediately it's a forgery. I never signed such a document. When I show this to Ryan, his face darkens with concern. This is forgery, clear and simple. Sophia, this proves that Daniel is willing to break the law to get what he wants. The evidence keeps mounting. Financial records showing money being diverted to offshore accounts. Emails between Daniel and his assistant, Caitlin Morgan, discussing the plan, in vague but troubling terms. As I dig deeper, my symptoms mysteriously begin to improve. The new medication prescribed by Dr. Martinez is working. Or perhaps it's that I'm now getting the real medication instead of whatever Daniel might have been substituting. One evening, I decide to confront Daniel directly. I wait until dinner, watching him carefully before speaking. I found the life insurance policy, I say calmly, though my heart is racing. And the forged will. Daniel freezes momentarily. Then his face transforms into a mask of anger. You've been going through my things? They're my things too, Daniel. This is my house, my company, my life. He stands abruptly, knocking over his wine glass. You have no idea what you're dealing with, Sophia. No idea at all. As he storms out, I realize I've finally seen the real Daniel Pierce, and now I know exactly what I'm fighting against. The afternoon sun bathes San Francisco with a golden light as I receive an urgent call from Rachel. Her worried tone immediately tells me something is happening at the company. Sophia, you need to come right now, Rachel whispers. Daniel is gathering all the employees in the main hall. He's saying strange things, and I think he's trying to cover something up. My heart pounds harder. What kind of strange things? He's saying the rumors about the company's finances are false and everything is under control. But I saw him going into his office with a stack of documents and... Sophia, I think he's destroying evidence. Adrenaline surges through me. I'm on my way. Don't let anyone leave until I get there. I hang up and immediately dial Ryan's number. Ryan, we need to act now. Daniel is at the company gathering the employees. I think he's trying to cover his tracks. I'm on my way. Ryan responds decisively. Call the police. With what we have, we can ask them to detain him for questioning. I hesitate for a moment but make the call. This is the moment to risk everything. When I arrive at the Mitchell Designs building, the atmosphere is tense. Employees move nervously, whispering among themselves, and some look at me with eyes full of questions and concern. I walk determinedly toward the main hall, where Daniel stands before the employees, with a tense smile and words full of empty promises. I want everyone to know the company is in perfect condition, Daniel is saying, his voice echoing in the crowded room. The rumors that have been circulating are nothing but misunderstandings, and I'm here to make sure everyone has clarity. I push the door open and enter without asking permission, causing an immediate murmur among the employees. Despite the months of illness that have weakened me, I stand tall. I'm wearing a perfectly fitted black suit, my hair pulled back in an elegant bun, and my eyes convey a strength that no one in that room can ignore. Daniel stops when he sees me, and his smile completely disappears. Sophia, what are you doing here? What I should have done a long time ago, I respond calmly, though my voice has a cutting edge that makes everyone in the room fall silent. Daniel tries to regain his composure. We're in the middle of an important meeting. Perhaps we could talk later." "No, Daniel. This can't wait," I say, as I advance to the front of the room, holding a folder in my hands. "Because today I'm going to reveal the truth." A murmur travels through the room, and Daniel crosses his arms, trying to maintain an appearance of control. "What truth, Sophia?" I place the folder on the table in front of Daniel and open it. Inside are copies of bank transfers, fraudulent contracts, and the forged will. The truth about how you've been diverting money from the company, manipulating documents, and planning to take everything that belongs to my family. The silence in the room is deafening. The employees look at Daniel with eyes full of disbelief and curiosity. He maintains a tense expression, but his voice sounds firm when he responds, "This is absurd. I don't know where you got this from, but it doesn't mean anything." "I got it from your office, Daniel," I say, my voice full of conviction. "And I have more evidence that proves that you and Caitlin have been working together in this fraud." Caitlin's name causes an immediate impact among those present. The whispers intensify, and some employees begin to exchange worried looks. "This is a personal attack," says Daniel, standing up. "Everyone here knows that Sophia is sick. Her illness has affected her emotionally, and now she's trying to drag us all down with her." I take a step toward him, facing him directly. "Sick? Yes, I was. But that didn't stop me from seeing who you really are. You used my illness to manipulate me, to control me, and to destroy what my parents built." Daniel tries to respond, but at that moment, Ryan enters the room accompanied by 2 police officers and a court lawyer. The impact of their entrance is immediate, and the murmur among the employees turns into a tense silence. "Mr. Daniel Pierce," says one of the officers as he pulls out a paper, "we have an arrest warrant against you for fraud, document forgery, and diversion of funds." The color disappears from Daniel's face, but he tries to maintain his defiant posture. "This is a mistake. You don't have enough evidence to accuse me." Ryan steps forward, placing the documents on the table. "Here's the evidence. Daniel, transfers, contracts, and communication records between you and Caitlin Morgan." The officers waste no time. They approach Daniel and put handcuffs on him while reading him his rights. The employees observe in silence, some horrified, others clearly relieved. Before being escorted out of the room, Daniel looks at me with hatred. "This doesn't end here." I hold his gaze, my eyes full of determination. "Yes, Daniel, it ends here." When Daniel is escorted out of the building, the employees begin to slowly disperse, still processing what happened. Some approach me to thank me, while others simply observe me with respect and admiration. Ryan approaches me with an expression of relief. "We did it, Sophia. But there's still a lot of work to do." I nod, knowing that although I've won this battle, the road to rebuilding the company and my life will be long. But for the first time in a long time, I feel I can breathe freely. That night, as I watch the city lights from my window, I think about everything I've faced to reach this point. Although the future is still uncertain, I know I have the strength and support needed to face it. The next few days are a whirlwind. With Daniel in custody, I return to the company to assess the damage. The employees gather around me, sharing their suspicions and experiences. "He threatened to fire me when I questioned a payment," one accountant admits. "He made us all feel like we were crazy whenever we brought up concerns," adds another. I spent hours with Ryan and a team of forensic accountants, uncovering the full extent of Daniel's schemes. The image that emerges is worse than I imagined. Systematic fraud spanning years, not just months. "He was building this plan since the early days of your illness," Ryan explains gently. "The medication tampering was part of it too." The revelation hits me hard. "He was making me sicker on purpose," Ryan nods grimly. Dr. Martinez confirmed the medication samples you provided showed inconsistencies. Daniel was likely substituting or tampering with your treatment to keep you weak and dependent. I close my eyes, processing the depth of this betrayal. And Caitlin? What's her role in all this? That's our next step, Ryan says. She's disappeared, but we believe she has critical information. We need to find her. With Daniel behind bars, the company seems to have entered a period of tense calm. The employees, who previously walked on eggshells, can now breathe easier. However, I know there's still a latent threat: Caitlin Morgan. Although Daniel was the mastermind behind the financial irregularities, Caitlin had been his direct accomplice. The contracts signed by her and the transfers to foreign accounts demonstrated her active participation in the fraud. But unlike Daniel, Caitlin hadn't been arrested. She had disappeared shortly after his capture, leaving questions and rumors in her wake. I'm in my office reviewing papers when Rachel enters with a serious expression. Sophia, I just found out something about Caitlin. I look up, interested. What's going on? She's trying to get a job at another company, but using false references. According to what I was told, she's trying to keep a low profile while looking for a way out to avoid being implicated in what she did here. I frown, feeling a mixture of indignation and concern. Do you know where she is? Rachel shakes her head. Not exactly, but someone mentioned she's still in San Francisco. It seems she's staying in a discreet place while trying to move. The information sparks something in me. I know Caitlin is not only guilty, but she might also have valuable information to seal Daniel's fate. I decide to call Ryan to inform him. Ryan, we have a lead on Caitlin. She's trying to stay off the radar, but she's still in the city. We need to find her. Ryan, always meticulous, responds with a firm tone. I'll investigate. With the accounts we tracked, maybe we can locate her. If we manage to talk to her, we could pressure her to cooperate. 2 days later, Ryan manages to locate Caitlin. She's staying at a modest hotel on the outskirts of the city, a place discreet enough to avoid attention, but comfortable enough for someone accustomed to a luxurious lifestyle. Ryan and I decide to confront her in person. The hotel lobby is quiet when we enter. Caitlin is in the restaurant, sitting at a table in the back with a coffee in front of her. When she sees us enter, her expression quickly goes from surprise to discomfort. She lowers her gaze, pretending not to have recognized us, but Ryan and I walk directly toward her. Caitlin, I say, with a firm but contained tone. We need to talk. Caitlin looks up with a forced smile. I don't know what you're talking about, Sophia. I don't think there's anything to discuss between us. We'll decide that after this conversation. Ryan intervenes, sitting across from her. We know what you did with Daniel. Caitlin tries to maintain her composure, but the slight tremor in her hands betrays her. I have no idea what you're talking about. I have nothing to do with Daniel's problems. I cross my arms and fix my gaze on Caitlin. We have evidence, Caitlin. Your signature is on several fraudulent contracts, and the transfers to foreign accounts bear your name. It's only a matter of time before the police come for you. Caitlin frowns, her facade beginning to crumble. What do you want from me? The truth, says Ryan, placing a folder on the table. We know Daniel was the leader, but you were his accomplice. We want your testimony to close this case once and for all. Caitlin laughs bitterly. And what do I gain from this? Do you think Daniel won't drag me down with him if he decides to talk? You can collaborate with justice, I intervene. If you confess now, maybe you can get a reduced sentence. But if you keep running, things will only get worse for you. Caitlin remains silent for a moment, looking at the coffee in front of her as if searching for an answer on the surface of the drink. Finally, she sighs and looks up at me. Daniel convinced me this was an opportunity for both of us. He told me you would never be capable of managing the company and that he was doing the right thing. But it was all a lie. Then do the right thing now, I say, leaning toward her. Help me clean up this mess and save what's left of my company. Caitlin nods slowly. I'll talk to the authorities. But I want protection. Daniel is not someone who forgives easily. We'll help you, responds Ryan, nodding. But you have to tell the whole truth. That same afternoon, Caitlin is taken to the authorities to give her statement. She confesses her participation in the fraud scheme, detailing how Daniel had planned everything and convinced her to be his ally. She also provides information about other accounts and movements that Ryan and I were unaware of, further strengthening the case against him. Although Caitlin will still face charges for her role in the fraud, her cooperation allows her to negotiate a reduced sentence. For me, her testimony is not only a relief, but also confirmation that my parents' legacy has hope of being restored. Days later, I'm in my office reviewing the company's reconstruction plans when I receive a call from Ryan. Good news, Sophia. Thanks to Caitlin's testimony, the prosecutors have conclusive evidence to convict Daniel. I exhale slowly, feeling how the weight of the last few months begins to disappear from my shoulders. Do you think this will be enough to close everything? With what we have, Daniel has no escape. Now it's just a matter of time until he receives his sentence. I hang up the call and stay looking out the window. Although the road to this point has been exhausting, I know I've taken a significant step to protect my family's inheritance. I also understand that my real battle isn't just against Daniel or Caitlin, but against the insecurities and wounds that have marked my life. That night, as I look at the city lights from the balcony of my house, I think about everything I've overcome. My illness, Daniel's betrayal, and the struggle to regain control of my life are painful chapters, but they've also shown me my strength. For the first time in a long time, I feel I can look toward the future with hope. The dawn of that day feels different. It's as if the San Francisco sky reflects the calm before a decisive storm. Daniel Pierce's trial is scheduled to begin that morning, and everything Ryan and I have worked for is about to be put to the test. I know this will be the moment that defines my future, but I'm also aware it won't be easy to relive every pain and betrayal in front of the court. When I arrive at the courthouse, the bustle is palpable. Journalists, onlookers, and people who have followed the case have gathered outside, eager to get details of what promises to be a scandalous trial. I pass by them, ignoring the camera flashes and questions reporters throw into the air. My mind is focused on what's coming. Ryan is waiting for me at the entrance, holding a thick folder that contains months of work, evidence, and statements. Ready? He asks, offering me a reassuring smile. I take a deep breath and nod. I am. We enter the courtroom together, where a group of Mitchell Designs employees and other onlookers occupy the available seats. The tension in the air is so dense it's almost palpable. Daniel is escorted by officers minutes later, with handcuffs shining under the lights of the place. Although he tries to maintain a confident posture, his face can't hide the weariness and concern. When his eyes meet mine, his forced smile is a reminder of the years I spent under his manipulation. The judge starts the trial, and the prosecutor opens the case with a forceful presentation of the accusations against Daniel Pierce. The defendant not only betrayed his wife's trust, but also used fraudulent methods to divert funds from a family business that represents a lifetime of work. His actions were premeditated, calculated, and carried out with the sole objective of benefiting himself economically, even at the cost of Mrs. Sophia Mitchell's health and well-being. The prosecutor's words resonate in the room, causing a sepulchral silence. Daniel, seated next to his defense attorney, maintains a tense expression while the prosecutor continues detailing the evidence against him. Transfers to foreign accounts, manipulated contracts, and the forged will. Caitlin Morgan's testimony is the next big blow to Daniel. Although visibly nervous, Caitlin recounts with precision how she was recruited by Daniel to sign contracts and approve fraudulent transfers. He told me it was a strategy to protect the company, but I soon understood he was using my name to hide his actions. The defense attorney tries to discredit Caitlin, pointing out her participation in the crimes. but her cooperation with justice and the evidence the prosecution presented support her testimony. When it's my turn, the atmosphere in the room becomes even tenser. Each step I take toward the stand is charged with emotions. Although my face shows serenity, my hands tremble slightly as I swear to tell the truth. "Mrs. Mitchell, could you tell us how you began to suspect your husband's actions?" asks the prosecutor. I breathe deeply before answering. Daniel used my illness as an excuse to take control of the company. At first, I thought he did it out of concern, but then I realized that every decision he made was designed to displace me. The documents he asked me to sign, the constant humiliations, everything was part of a plan. My voice breaks for a moment, but I quickly regain my composure. When I found the forged will and discovered the financial irregularities, I understood that he had not only betrayed my trust, but had also endangered everything my parents had built. Daniel observes me from his seat, his gaze full of resentment, but I don't allow that to intimidate me. I continue relating how I worked with Ryan to gather evidence and how I directly confronted Daniel on several occasions. The prosecutor concludes his interrogation with a final question. "Mrs. Mitchell, what do you hope to achieve with this trial?" I look at the jury before answering. "Justice. I want to recover my life, my company, and my dignity. And I want Daniel to pay for what he did, not just to me, but to everyone who was affected by his actions." My testimony is a decisive moment in the trial. The prosecution continues presenting evidence and calling more witnesses, consolidating the case against Daniel. Meanwhile, his defense tries to discredit the accusations, but the evidence is overwhelming. After several hours of deliberations, the jury returns with their verdict. The judge asks everyone to stand before reading it. The defendant, Daniel Pierce, is found guilty of fraud, document forgery, and diversion of funds. I close my eyes for a moment, letting the words settle in my mind. I've won. The judge continues. He is sentenced to a penalty of 15 years in prison and the payment of compensation for damages to Mrs. Sophia Mitchell. When the officers escort Daniel out of the room, he gives me one last look. "I hope you're satisfied," he says, his voice loaded with contempt. I don't respond. I simply observe him as he disappears through the door, feeling how an enormous weight lifts from my shoulders. Ryan approaches me when the room begins to empty. "It's the end of an era, Sophia." I nod, with a slight smile on my lips. "Yes, but it's also the beginning of another." Later, as I walk through the illuminated streets of San Francisco, I think about everything that has happened to reach this point. Every betrayal, every fight, and every victory have led me to a place where I can finally look forward with hope. When I get home, I sit in my living room, surrounded by my parents' memories. I look around, allowing myself to feel the pride and peace they would have wanted for me. I know the road ahead won't be easy, but I also know I'm strong enough to face it. It's the beginning of a new chapter, and I'm ready to write it. Golden rays of sunlight illuminate the streets of San Francisco as I prepare for a different day. For the first time in years, I don't feel the weight of uncertainty or the constant fear of being betrayed. The trial is over. Daniel is paying for his crimes, and I'm ready to rebuild my life, starting with the company that has been my family's heart. I arrive early at the office. I've called a meeting with the employees to discuss restructuring plans. When I enter the building, some faces greet me with warmth and respect, a welcome very different from the days when my presence was seen as a symbol of conflict. In the meeting room, a group of employees awaits me, seated around the long wooden table. Rachel is there, as always, with an encouraging smile. Ryan has also come, although officially he's not part of the company. His constant support makes him an invaluable ally. I stand before them, holding a folder with notes and documents. Thank you all for being here. I know the last few months have been difficult, but I want you to know that I'm committed to returning to this company the integrity and purpose it always had. The employees nod, and some even applaud softly. Rachel takes the floor. Sophia, we know how much you fought to get here, and we're with you. What happened with Daniel was difficult, but it also made us stronger as a team. Ryan intervenes, leaning toward the table. The key now is transparency. We'll work together to ensure that every decision made is for the benefit of the company and its legacy. I continue detailing my plan. I've hired a financial consultant to review all accounts and ensure the company is in a solid position. I also plan to launch a new campaign that highlights the company's original values, a way to reconnect with customers who lost confidence during Daniel's management. At the end of the meeting, the employees leave with expressions of renewed hope. I stay for a moment in the room, observing the papers on the table. Rachel and Ryan approach me. "It was a good start," says Rachel, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Your parents would be very proud." I smile, although my eyes fill with tears. "Thank you, Rachel. That means a lot to me." Ryan, who had remained silent, finally speaks. "Sophia, I know this is just the first step, but you're already making a big difference. And not just in the company, but also in your life." I look at him, feeling a warmth in his words that goes beyond the professional realm. Although the last few months have been full of chaos, Ryan has been a constant, a figure of support that never let me fall. "Thank you, Ryan. I couldn't have made it here without you." He smiles, slightly tilting his head. "Then I'll always be here for you." In the following days, I begin working on the restoration of my home. Although the house is a reflection of my parents' legacy, it also bears the scars of the years I shared with Daniel. I decide to redecorate each room, infusing them with colors and furniture that reflect my new life. While selecting curtains for the living room, Ryan unexpectedly arrives with a coffee in each hand. "I thought you might need a break," he says, handing me one. I smile and take a sip. "Thank you. This is exactly what I needed." "How's the house project going?" he asks, looking at the fabric samples I have on the table. It's liberating in a way. I felt the house was trapped in a time that no longer exists. Now I want it to reflect who I am today. Ryan nods, observing me with admiration. "That's what you've been doing with your life too." "And it's working." I pause for a moment, letting his words settle. "I don't know what I would have done without your support, Ryan. Not just in the company, but in all of this." He comes closer, placing a hand on mine. "I always believed in you, Sophia. Since we were young, I knew you were someone special." I feel my cheeks blush. There's something in the sincerity of his words that completely disarms me. "Maybe we should give this a chance." Ryan smiles widely, leaning slightly toward me. "Maybe we should." That night, sitting on the balcony under a starry sky, Ryan and I share a comfortable silence. The city lights shine in the distance as I rest my head on Ryan's shoulder. "You know," I say, with a light smile. For the first time in a long time, I think the future is something I can embrace, not fear. Ryan surrounds me with an arm, holding me tenderly. "And the future is bright, Sophia, because you make it that way." I look at him, and in my eyes there's no trace of the shadows that once tormented me. I lean toward him, sealing the moment with a kiss full of promises. I have fought, I have lost, and I have won. But above all, I have found the peace I so longed for. Looking out at the San Francisco skyline, I feel the final pieces fall into place. My health continues to improve with proper treatment. The company is on solid ground again, and most importantly, I've reclaimed my voice and my power. "What's next for Mitchell Designs?" Ryan asks, his hand warm in mine. I smile, watching the fog roll in across the bay. Something authentic, something that reflects who we really are. The future stretches before me, vast with possibility. There will be challenges, of course. Rebuilding always takes longer than destroying. but this time I'm not facing them alone. I say softly. My mother always told me that the greatest strength comes after the hardest falls. Ryan nods. She was right. I think of all the people who stood by me. Rachel with her unwavering friendship. My employees who remained loyal despite everything. Dr. Martinez, who suspected something was wrong with my medication. And Ryan, who believed in me when I'd almost stopped believing in myself. The betrayal I experienced was profound, but so is the healing. As we sit together watching the stars, I realize that Daniel's greatest miscalculation wasn't underestimating my intelligence or determination. It was underestimating my capacity for resilience. Some wounds may never completely heal, but they've become part of my story, reminders of what I've overcome. And in that overcoming, I've found not just survival, but a chance to truly live again. Ready to go inside? Ryan asks as the evening chill settles around us. I take a deep breath of the cool air, savoring this moment of perfect peace. Yes, I answer, standing tall. I'm ready. What did you think of this story? If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe for more exciting stories, and leave your comment. See you in the next video on the screen.